Last year on Unsealed, we celebrated the 20-year anniversary of Madden NFL 2001. We opened up the original PlayStation version of the game, and we also opened up the PlayStation 2 version of the game. The PlayStation 2 version of the game was by far the more important because this game, because of its improvements, how much better it looked than its 32-bit counterpart, got a lot of people to want to buy into a PlayStation 2 at launch. Too many people, in fact, as there were supply shortages. People couldn't find PlayStation 2s for months. I wound up having to wait about 4 months to be able to find mine. But this game, nonetheless, was very impressive. 60 frames per second in terms of frame rate, so it was very smooth compared to the 30 frames per second or so that the original PlayStation had. More dynamic replays, better commentary, more features. This was the way that you wanted to play football for the 2001 sports year. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better than the alternative that we had. Of course, if you had a Dreamcast at the time, you were playing NFL 2K1 instead, which compared pretty favorably against Madden 2001. So that was the 20-year anniversary last year. This year, for the 20-year anniversary of Madden, we are talking about Madden 2002 for the still supported original PlayStation and for the PlayStation 2 console. There are also versions of this for the original Xbox and for the GameCube. We actually have a GameCube version, and we'll open that as we get close to celebrating the GameCube's launch in November. We're going to open up the original PlayStation version of this game first. I do believe that is Dante Culpepper on the cover. So the features that are listed here include kicking off the season with the newest NFL team. So we now have the Houston Texans included for the first time, which is a pretty big deal, especially if you're in Houston. Returning to glory, so you can play Madden 93 on here, an emulated version of Madden 93. You're not going to be able to get all the features that Madden 93 had, but you're still going to be able to play a game with the original Genesis graphics, so that would be an appeal for some people who wanted to play old school. We would see this version of Madden 93 resurrected a bit later with Madden 2005 Collector's Edition for the PlayStation 2. A game within a game. You can run or defend. You improve 2-minute drill game mode, so you have an arcade-style game mode here in the game. Boom Boom Pow with the X's and O's of John Madden in training mode, so you can listen to John Madden walk you through training and tutorials. And we would see that for the next few years where John would walk you through how to play the game, which I thought was a pretty cool feature. No more pulling the plug. You can repeat any unwanted play with the new mulligan do-over feature. So if you screw up, you can take a mulligan, go back, kind of like playing golf. So that is the 16-bit version of the game. We're going to try and get this open. No promises that I'm going to be able to do that easily here, as opening an original PlayStation game is not as easy as opening a PlayStation 2 game. But we do have the cover that we're going to open up here. We have the plastic that we're going to be able to take off. And we'll take a look at the game itself. We'll just drop that on the floor for now. We do still have it sealed with the ID sticker. Apologies for the lack of autofocus, but it does say Madden NFL 2002 on it. I'll bring it back a little bit for you. Number one for a reason. That is the tagline for this year. I don't know whether that was something that was put there because there was some fear that NFL 2K was starting to make some waves among football video game fans, but for whatever reason, that was the tagline for this particular year. I'll finish taking this off. There we go. When we open the case thankfully is in good shape. We do see our virtual Dante Culpepper on the disc, and we have an ad for NBA Live 2002. That would be the next major sport to come out from EA Sports, not just for the PlayStation, but for the PS2 as well. And we will talk about NBA Live 2002 a little bit later this year. All right. Let's take a look at the instruction manual. And the instruction manual is in black and white. It is not very big. It's only 20 pages. And there's not really a lot here to go over. Talks about setting up the game, all of the additional features, things like that. You can see right there. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 pages worth of instructions here. That's one of the things with Madden is sometimes the additional gameplay options and play control options are a bit too complicated for their own good. They are not necessarily pick up and play, so if you're playing against someone who's a higher skill level than you, you can certainly struggle if you don't have all of those controls down pat. So it does take some games under your belt to fully understand the play control options in the game. So you can play exhibition, talks to you about offensive tips and defensive tips, things like that. Can play through a season. You can do a fantasy draft. Fantasy was big at the time and obviously is even bigger now. I'm doing my fantasy football draft for my local team in 2 weeks, I think. Franchise mode is here, so if you want to play multiple seasons, that adds to the replay value. I have never played through more than a couple of full seasons. I just don't have that kind of time. Custom leagues, tournaments, coach's corner, practice, situational football, where you can create a situation and try and beat that situation. The 2-minute drill arcade mode, Madden Classics, so we're talking about Madden 93. And Madden cards are here. Imagine that. Collecting cards without having to pay money for them. Now, these cards are a little bit different than the Madden Ultimate Team cards, which you actually need them to be able to put a team together. With Madden cards in these particular games, you would get powered up versions of particular players, or you would unlock cheats or other things. And you would unlock all of these things through traditional gameplay. That does seem like a novel concept these days, as you're basically paying for card packs or having to grind your way through game modes as much as you possibly can. But back then, a little bit different story. You could unlock everything through gameplay, and the big reason for that was because we weren't online yet. Not with the PlayStation for sure, and the PlayStation 2 online capability was still about a year or so away. Now we'll get to the PlayStation 2 version of the game. When we take a look on the back of the case, again, we do see the number 1 for a reason logo here, just like we did with the original PlayStation version. And the features are basically the same. Football in your face. New player faces and on-field animations bring you closer to the drama and inside the huddle. That is the big thing here. The graphics do look, to me, they look about the same as the PlayStation 2 version of Madden 2001. Maybe there's a little bit more detail, but I don't think there's a lot. Just like with the original PlayStation version, we do have, and I'm trying to make sure that it's not glared out there, but we do have the Madden NFL 2002 ID sticker at the top of the case, so we do know that it is legit. Thankfully, the game is kind of already open at the bottom, so this will be pretty easy to remove. Keep in mind, this is a 20-year-old game. Sorry about the noise there. So it is not surprising that is pretty easy to remove. One thing to touch on with this is it is the first time this year, this 2002 sports year, is the first time that NFL 2K would go head-to-head with Madden. I do have NFL 2K for the PlayStation 2, but that would not come out for a couple of months yet. So the PlayStation 2 had Madden all to itself. When we open the case and we spin the disc around, the disc looks very much the same as the original PlayStation game with the virtual version of Dante Culpepper. And you do have an instruction manual that is considerably larger than the PlayStation version, and we'll take that out. Interestingly enough, we have an ad here for NCAA Football 2002, which was the only NCAA football game on the market for the 2002 sports year. It wasn't until 2003 that we would get NCAA College Football 2K3 from Sega, and I believe that we also saw NCAA Game Breaker return in 2003 as well. So again, this is 44 pages in length. Unfortunately, it is in black and white. It is not in color. The introduction here just says the award-winning Madden franchise returns for its second season on the PlayStation 2 console. Delivering the heartfelt emotion and hard-hitting action of the National Football League, Madden NFL 2002 takes its dominance to a whole new level. Whether you're playing an exhibition game or going deep into franchise mode, all the glory is a single play away. So you have all 32 NFL teams. So again, we have the Texans here for the first time. We have the 2-minute drill here. We have a custom league here. Is also we all have the ability to create tournaments. And X's and O's, you can go through training mode if you so desire. There's a note here that's pretty interesting, and you can kind of sort of see it. And I'm not going to bring it too close to the camera because of the autofocus, but it says the Houston Texans uniforms were not finished when this game was completed. The Madden NFL 2002 uniforms are generic representations. To see the real Texans uniforms, check out NFL.com after September 12th, 2001. Of course, the 2001 calendar year, that's the day after 9/11, which unfortunately is also commemorating the 20th year since that disaster happened, so that's a little bit rough. When we go deeper, again, just like the PlayStation version, we do have quite a few pages of play controls here. We have 2.5 pages because this manual is a bit longer instead of wider. We do have fewer pages talking about kicking the ball. Easy play versus normal play. This is pretty interesting. Before you reach the main menu, Madden NFL 2002 gives you the option, or says give you the option, so there's a little bit of a typo there. Gives you the option to play a quick game with the easy play function on, where the game is simplified for easy learning, or you can select normal to play the game as normal. So it's kind of nice for EA Sports and EA Tiburon to have a more accessible gameplay mode for people who are fans of the game, but not necessarily great with understanding the gameplay controls. So I think that that is pretty cool. And that's pretty much it in terms of what is different here. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of, matter of fact, there are very few screenshots here, and even fewer that you can really see on camera here. The instruction manual is pretty thorough, though. It does talk about Madden cards in terms of playing the cards and risking the cards, talking about the practice modes, so on and so forth. My opinion of the game is, well, it's pretty good. I don't think it's as mind-blowing as Madden NFL 2001 was, because it was the first time we had seen that kind of an upgrade. It was very incremental. I think we would see more upgrades going to Madden NFL 2003 and beyond. It's also notable that Madden NFL 2002 was the last year in the play-by-play booth for Pat Summerall. He would be replaced by Al Michaels for Madden NFL 2003. Pat Summerall and John Madden were staples in the play-by-play booth for a long time. They worked well with each other, and it was kind of sad to see Pat move on, although Pat was getting on in age, and of course he is no longer with us now. Fantastic play-by-play guy who had great chemistry with John Madden. I think he had even better chemistry with Madden than Al Michaels did, and it was a shame to see him go. Al Michaels, when he would take over in 2003 and would stick around with the franchise for a few years, did a serviceable job, but I never thought that Michaels had the command of play-by-play commentary for video games like he does on the air. And I think that does take a certain level of talent and skill in order to achieve that level of convincing people that it's real but not being real. So that's the way that I look at that. So those are looks at the Madden 2002 games for the PlayStation and for the PlayStation 2. It was awesome to be able to open these up, and now I have brand new copies that I can go ahead and play at will, which I'm hoping to do as the football season gets going. We are just a couple of weeks away, I think 2 or 3 weeks away from the start of the 2021 football season. So if you want to go back in time, see what the rosters were like, see what the gameplay was like, you can find these at your local video game store for relatively cheap. That is the cool part of old sports games, is that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to be able to get some quality sports gaming action. Until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other. This has been the Retro Referee, and we will talk again really soon.